Okay, so in this session today, we're going to cover the data tab from EDIS. Just as a quick reminder, right? EDIS is a collection of multiple applications that connect to each other and do a lot of things on top of a data store. And that data store gets filled up by integrating with data sources from the different school districts. So in the EDIS application per se, one tab that we're going to be utilizing a lot, it's going to be the let me see here, the data tab in EDIS, right? So let's go through it. So the data tab, it's the first tab in the top navigation bar for EDIS, and then in that tab you're going to get a lot of different visualizations and tools inside that menu. We're going to go one by one and explain what each one of those tools do. So the first one that I want to start with is custom reports. So in custom reports, an EDIS user can build a report or as many reports as they like based on the data points that EDIS is bringing from all of those integrated data sources, right? So let's start, for example, by building a custom report. So in EDIS, if I'm going to build a custom report, I'm just going to click create custom report, and I'm just going to add here a student 360 report. And I'm going to add a description here. You can also add tags. So the tags will help you filter custom reports. So if you're building a custom report that has behavior data, or perhaps it has iReady or any other data source, you want to use that in your tagging system. And let's just click save. So if you see here, the custom report starts as an empty table with only the student data points, right? So it's not that meaningful at this point. But I'm going to start adding data. So if I click here in the three dots menu, EDIS brings the data points library. So the data points library is the source of data for all the custom reports. So this gives you an idea of how many different data points EDIS is bringing from all the different systems. So let's just build one, and it's going to be very easy. So I'm just going to take like this assessment here, right? This weekly ROI assessment, and I'm just going to add a few data points, right? And see how it looks. There you go. So if you see here, I'm adding data as columns, right? So every data point that I bring into the custom report, it's going to represent a column in the custom report. I can also bring, for example, if I want to keep adding data, I can filter by, for example, like demographics data points. And I can just say, give me the home language of the student, the grade level, right? And get me the school of the student. So if you see here, I'm building my my data point. It adds those columns in here, right? Now, once you have a data point that it's built, everybody in EDIS can see it, right? But they can see it only for the students that they work with. So for example, my user here is a super admin user. So I can see a custom report for 16,000 students in this demo, right? But if a teacher goes and clicks on this report, they will only see it for the 20 students that they teach. So if a school principal logs in and clicks on the report, they will only see it for, let's say, their 500 students that they have in their school, right? So that's important to know, is that custom reports are very secure. You can build them, right? Nobody's going to be able to see data for a student that they don't work with. So another thing that I can do with custom reports, and we're going to have a deep dive session on custom reports later, it's that I can take a custom report and I can share a custom report. So I can share with individuals and I can share with groups of people. So I can say, for example, teachers. And I can say, for example, I'm going to share this report with all first grade teachers, right? And if I also type in a name, right, I can also share this custom report with a specific person, right? And then I can also write a message. So I can say, for example, hi, this report is the one we will use during the data meeting tomorrow. Bring your laptops. And then once you click share, what EDIS is going to do is it's going to send an email to all of those users in that group and to that specific teacher that I added individually, and it's going to give them a link. Once they click on that link, they're going to get redirected to EDIS. They're going to have to log in first, and then they're going to get redirected automatically to that custom report, but only for the students that they can work with. So what is the advantage of a custom report? You can build unlimited of them. You can put together data points that are coming from different places. So you can correlate, for example, academic with attendance, with behavior in one place, right? And then you can share the reports with multiple people. And then it allows people to be seeing the same data for different students. So everybody is in the same page. So going back to that initial point of data productivity, right? The alternative of using a custom report is that our users are going to tool number one, right? Let's say the student information system, exporting a CSV file, then going into another tool and exporting another CSV file, and then adding those into specific tabs in a spreadsheet, and then doing lookup tables by student ID, right? It becomes a problem. So productivity for EDIS means assembling the data quickly, but also distributing the data quickly. So it works both ways, right? So custom reports saves you a lot of time when assembling data, and it also saves you a lot of time when distributing data because it takes care of the security automatically. You don't have to build different versions of the same spreadsheet, right? EDIS takes care of all of that for you. So that is the custom report, right? That's the first tool I wanted to cover, right? The second tool that I wanted to cover is the report library, right? In custom reports, you will be able to build unlimited of them, right? And then they'll be here in that custom reports tool. But if you go into the report library, right? What the report library does is the report library has reports in EDIS that are built by EDIS and not built by the user. So these are reports that come out of the box with EDIS, right? So there's a lot of different categories. So for example, academics, right? EDIS will build reports for academics already pre-built based on the data that the school districts are having. Attendance, there's reports for those alerts and indicators that EDIS calculates every day, right? There is reports for demographics, for course activity, right? So all of that, it's built into EDIS automatically. And when you click on any of those reports, they'll have their own format, right? But the difference between custom reports and the report library is that custom reports, you can edit, you can add and remove columns, you can build them yourself. Report library, it's built by EDIS. You can visualize it, you can filter it, you can do all that stuff, but you cannot change them, right? Now, moving on into the flow, right? The next thing is the widgets, right? So EDIS has a widget library. So what is a widget, right? A widget, it's a type of visualization that EDIS builds depending on the data that the user wants to visualize. For example, a widget can be a pie chart, a widget can be a bar chart, a column chart, a line chart over time. So depending on the best way to visualize certain data points, EDIS will choose which widget it's better to visualize data. So for example, if I search for, let's say, demographic widgets, right? EDIS will give me a collection of all the widgets that that EDIS has built that are based on demographics data. It's important to know that EDIS builds the widgets automatically. The user does not have to build the widgets. So depending on the data EDIS is integrating, EDIS is rendering those widgets automatically, right? So for example, if you have a widget that takes care of, let's say, assessment data, right? And then let's say you do fall, winter, and spring, and you have the data for 2024. And then the year 2025 comes in, and you do the first assessment in the fall of 2025, as a user, you don't have to go to the widget and add the new data point. EDIS adds that new data point automatically. So the widgets are self-healing, right? They self-modify automatically. The user does not have to do anything, right? So you have, again, to just recap, you have pie charts, line charts, bar charts, and column charts as your widgets. Now, all of those widgets, you can see them as part of the widget library. You can click on them and see the details, but then you can also assemble them as part of your dashboard. So in EDIS, you have a dashboard, and then that dashboard allows you to build many topics in it, right? So those topics can be either a collection of widgets that you can put in the same page, and you can organize them however you want. So you can have like 3-column widgets, 2-column widgets, single column widgets, right? You can play with them, right? You can add widgets from the widget library. So if you say, for example, in here, right, I want to, let's say, add a visualization, EDIS will bring the widget library, and it will allow you to add those widgets into the dashboard, right? EDIS can also add data stories as a topic in the dashboard, but we're going to cover data stories in a few minutes, right? But just know that the widget library, it's the collection of all the widgets that EDIS has ever generated, right? Based on the data that EDIS is connecting to, and that you can put many widgets together in a single dashboard, and then that will go into the dashboard library. So now, as far as the dashboard, as far as the data stories go, which is the last tool inside the data tab that I wanted to cover, data stories are a vertical document where you can assemble visualizations and content in the same place. That's why we call it data stories. The last thing that EDIS wants to do is to present content just as numbers and graphics and not show the actual content that goes with it. So this allows the user to build a story around the data, right? So for example, if I click on, let's say, let me click on this data story in here, right? So if I click on a data story, you will see that I can have sections in my data story similar to how I have in an article, right? You can have a section that is the introduction of your data story. And then in that, you can write text, you can upload images, you can upload a video, right? You can organize your content however you want. Then you can have another section that is widgets, right? And then you can switch between the different widgets, right? In that data story, right? Then you can also add another type of section that pulls from the custom reports. So you're getting the concept here, right? A data story, it's a document that you write, but then in different sections of that document, you can inject visualizations from all the tools in EDIS. So you can either bring a widget or bring multiple widgets, or you can say, I want to bring a custom report and embed it inside the data story, but it allows the user to digest the content as if it was reading an article, right? Like, hey, here's my intro. Here's what I want to see here. Here's the second section. Now, data stories are used by our districts to put together home pages for different types of users. So, for example, a lot of our districts have a data story for elementary teachers, a data story for high school teachers, because they know that those types of users are going to want different things, right? So that's what a data story does. So just to do a summary of all of these, right? First of all, EDIS ingests every day a lot of different data points from different data sources, right? And it stores them in the EDIS data store that it's private and secure. And then the EDIS applications use the data coming from that data store. The custom reports is a tool that allows users to put together data tables with data points coming from different data sources, and it allows them to do it very fast. It also allows them to share data tables with different users without having to worry about the security and the privacy, because it's all embedded inside EDIS. So that's the custom report. The report library are reports that are pre-built by EDIS in different subjects, such as academics, behavior, early warning systems, college and career readiness, and all of that. Then the widget library, it's the collection of all the different widgets that EDIS is generating based on the data sources that EDIS is connecting to. The widgets are self-updating. They can update automatically as new data come in, right? And those widgets are all put together inside that widget library. Now, the next tool, right? The dashboard library, right? As a user in your dashboard, you can build as many dashboards as you like, and you can put together widgets from that widget library. Every time you create a dashboard in EDIS, it goes into that dashboard library, right? And then from that dashboard library, you can inject that dashboard in your homepage, right? Then the last tool inside the data tab, it's the data story. So data stories allow you to put the information, instead of in a dashboard, you can put it in a vertical document, and you can combine text with widgets, with custom reports, all in one place, so that the user can digest the data automatically. So that is a summary of the data tab. We're going to have articles for each one of those sections, where we're going to do a deep dive into each one of those tools.